Okay. Hello, people. Uh, I think it's working and I think it's streaming, hopefully. This is Marco Tusa and Dmitry. Let's wait few seconds, let's say, just for the people to join, and then we will start. I can hear people joining. Yeah, great. Dmitry, you tell me when we can start. You give me the thumbs up. Okay. Okay, I see people joining. Okay, fantastic. So we can start. First of all, welcome to this event. This is an open chat, so we are expecting you guys to submit comments and to actually express to raise question. And as more interactive this will be, the best will be for us and for you. So please do not hesitate to put any question in the different chat, and if we will not get immediately, there are people in the background that is helping us to capture the questions. So let's introduce first of all Dmitry, which is the hero of the day here. And Dmitry, please, up to you.
Hello, my name is Dmitry. I'm working on JavaScript support in Percona Server at the moment. I'm part of Percona Server for MySQL team. Before that, I worked at Oracle Sun Microsystems MySQL IB. Started working on MySQL Server code about 20 years ago. And my co-host is Marco. Marco.
Okay. Hi, I'm the MySQL Tech Lead in Percona. I'm working in this field for many years, 30 years, 38, 39 years, more or less. So I'm not a young person anymore. I was working as principal consultant in Percona before, and have been also team manager. I actually realized that have been colleague with Dmitry for years, also when we were in MySQL AB, because I was in MySQL AB as well. So we were actually spending more time there and then in Percona. That's how the life works. And okay, so yeah, I also have actually a past as a developer, mainly Java, and then I still have my own project currently. So I'm quite interested in the what is happening here, because it's in a indirected way is also very interesting for me personally. Okay, so let's start. Dimitri, why we have JavaScript and instead, I don't know, Python, that with all these AI things that makes
Okay.
we know that Python has more libraries, and instead we decide to go for JavaScript. What was the decision that bring us in that direction?
Okay, so I guess there are actually two questions. So the first question is why not SQL language, which we already have for storage routines? And if you have tried to program in it, the answer must be pretty obvious because it's really dated language with odd syntax. Not that much people know it. On the other hand, JavaScript is a modern language with lots of people knowing it. It's one of the top languages on Stack Overflow, and according to some polls, it was used by more than half of people in the industry last year. Regarding the question about why not Python, we were actually considering Python, taking it into account its usefulness in AI, and it seems to be all the buzz now. And the answer is that it seems that it's much less trivial to embed it in your application in a safe way. So to embed it properly, we probably need to create some kind of sandbox process. Things get much more complicated. So we decided to
Say with GS at the end. Yeah.
to stick with JS, especially since it is also hugely popular. And also it's important is that upstream provides the JS support, right?
Yeah, so consistency. But could we eventually see in the longer future that this is going to be something like we learn how to do it with GS and eventually we expand it to other languages?
Well, maybe.
Okay, that's
in principle, what upstream provides to us is a generic API for embedding for implementing storage routines in our languages, and it can be pretty much any language.
I see. This is great, actually. And this brings us to the second question, which is, given the fact that the upstream has already developed JavaScript support and they release it, some times ago, why we actually are taking this on us? This is a huge effort, right? So not only developing, then maintaining, and there will be the evolution of it. So why we decide to do that?
Well, there is only one but fairly big gotcha with upstream implementation. It's only enterprise or cloud. It's not available in open source community version of MySQL. So you either have to buy the enterprise subscription or you have to use Oracle Cloud. You cannot really use it on your own server using a community MySQL server. So it's not free as in beer, and it's not free as in freedom.
Okay.
And we in Percona are committed to providing open source alternatives to upstream's components, which are enterprise only or cloud only.
Yeah, that actually, I love this. I love this answer. I love this answer. Thank you. And okay, now I want to ask you something a little bit more technical. We were discussing about implementing JavaScript, and this is an API that we have from upstream. And I know because that upstream actually moved to Graal instead V8 implementation for JavaScript. And why we decide to use instead V8. And then the second question that is actually partially you were starting to answer before, but I want to bring it up. JavaScript could be extremely fast if you use it, and more powerful probably. I don't know. Let's say if it's true. If you work outside the server, instead we as external process, instead we decide to put internally. So the first question is why we choose this V8 instead Graal.
Okay, so why we choose V8 specifically? We actually looked briefly at Graal as well and some other engines for GS. And Well, the problem with Graal is that there are much less documentation for it and much less public experience with embedding it, because V8 is used in Node.js, so you can look at the Node.js open source code and pick up some things from there. It's used by Postgres JavaScript storage routines component. It's used in some other cases. And Graal is pretty much Oracle thing, and I guess the best people who know how to cook Graal VM is Oracle people.
Okay.
So
And
documentation and public experience, availability, answers to all my stupid questions on the web, you know.
yeah, which is important actually, because documentation is a huge part of the game whenever you start to implement something. But I have another question. And there is any huge difference between libraries that are supported by Graal against V8?
Uh, I do not think so, actually. So I think we can discuss a bit later what is supported there,
Mhm.
but overall it should be the same level of support of standard libraries, something like that. It's like both V8 and Graal VM are fairly fairly advanced implementation of JavaScript. So we support fairly modern JavaScript, because some of the libraries or JavaScript engines out there, especially those which are much smaller than V8, and with like which are proposed as a way to quickly and cheaply embed JavaScript into your application, we do not really support all the modern JavaScript features. And with V8 here, we are more or less safe, because it follows the standards, it sets the standards to some extent.
Okay. And why decide to embed everything inside
The
uh,
same
the
process.
same process instead
Okay,
tuning out the process?
we actually considered doing this in separate process, and maybe we will return to this idea as maybe a hardened sort of implementation, which probably would be useful for people who are more security oriented, more concerned about security. But we decided that at least initially there will be too much latency from switching from one context to another context and so on.
Dimitri, sorry, I just realized that we didn't specify, didn't explain what we mean when we say external process and internal, internal process. We are not talking about external application, but we are talking about using
Yeah,
the hardware. Yeah.
just a fork of MySQL process. It's actually pretty standard technique for V8. I think Google Chrome uses V8 this way, so they just have a separate processes and
Well,
run V8 there. Yeah, so yes, but we thought that it would be too much overhead, at least initially. Maybe we will return to this idea at some later point.
okay. Uh, I know we are starting to drill down a little bit and into the technicality, but you know, I want to expand a little bit more this. Uh, First, I want to do a jump back, and which is, but if we have different implementation, and we have something that is already in Oracle. Okay, there is a comment. By the way, V8 is approximately 5 times faster than Graal VM JS engine. Well, that's great. That give us a +1 because we use V8. Thank you. Thank you a lot. Um, okay, so we have the as Percona, we always have this philosophy to be fully binary plugin replacement. So you replace, or you take Oracle binaries and it runs. You remove the Oracle binaries. You take the Percona binaries and it will run without any problem. So the full drop-in replacement flow.
No, it won't work this way in this specific case, partially because we have to rely on V8 for JavaScript support. So we cannot be fully compatible in any case, and that's not the aim. We are trying to be as much as feature compatible as possible, but we do not aim for the total binary compatibility.
Okay.
And so what will happen is that if you have like MySQL Enterprise installation and which uses JavaScript routines, and you are switching to the Percona server with JS support, is that your routines will stop working, but you can update them, adjust the language, set it not JavaScript as an Oracle, but JS as an our implementation. Maybe update some of the routine code depending on what you use. If you use more Oracle-specific features, then probably you will have to do more updating. But if you use fairly common things, it should be safe. And then you can use it in our implementation, with our implementation, and then you can run these routines. So in any case, the migration won't be seamless.
Okay.
And another factor is that with JavaScript thing and libraries that are provided via, especially libraries which are interacting with the core of the server, of SQL Server, they are not exactly the same, and it's hard to make them behave exactly in the same way. So there will be migration. So it's our implementation is not a drop-in replacement, but at least it gives you an option.
Okay. And actually, what I read here is that if whoever developed JavaScript code inside the routine is smart enough to keep the code generic, and to do not try to use corner cases and functionalities, is just a matter of replacing the definition from JavaScript, create JavaScript, create a procedure with JavaScript to GS and rerun the creation process, and that eventually could work.
Yes, in ideal case, yes. It all also depends a lot on what kind of libraries do you use, what are the standard libraries do you use, and there may be some other minor differences. For example, upstream only supports with UTF-4 as parameters, and we actually support stored routine parameters in any language, and of course we convert in any character set, not language, sorry. And then we convert them internally to UTF-8 MB4 because that's what JavaScript uses internally.
Okay. And going back to discussion about the embedding the work of the store routine in the MySQL thread, any process will take, any execution will take memory, right? And what is going to happen if we run something in JavaScript inside the same thread that is running inside the MySQL server? That it will blow the memory of the server itself, right?
Okay. So we actually currently working on porting this functionality from our internal prototype to our public prototype. Is what we have now is that you can set a memory limit after reaching which the execution of JavaScript will be stopped. So essentially, you are setting per connection memory limit for the JavaScript execution, and if this limit is exceeded, I would say if it is exceeded in significant way, to be more exact, because with JavaScript being garbage collected language, it's not that obvious what is exactly memory limit, where is this garbage collection which clean up some things in the process. So overall, if you really overrun this memory limit, your JavaScript execution will be aborted and you will get an error. But connection won't be killed. You will be able to run SQL in it, and after that you will be even start JavaScript execution in you. You will just lose all your JavaScript context after that.
But the server will keep running.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the main thing, right? To do not affect the execution of the world server.
Well, there is potential problem if things if our code won't work, and if we will exceed some memory limits ultimately in some horrible way, it might abort, but that's it's the same story as with MySQL Server. It is not known as handling out of memory situation exactly well, right?
Yeah. Okay, so now the next question is a simple one for you, which is, okay, what we actually have for what we actually support, what is this implementation that we have?
Okay, so you can create stored functions and stored procedures in JS, but not events or triggers, for example. In these functions and procedures, of course, in parameters are supported, but also out and in-out parameters are supported. And they are internally mapped to JS variables, so you just we will see an example a bit later, actually, how it all works. We also support almost all SQL types as parameters or return values from JS stored routines. Overall, we support the same level of JS language as provided by V8, which is natural. So all standard separators are there, all standard data types are there, some standard objects like math functions. Of course, we do not have things which are specific to browsers, like document object model, because there is no document. And we also do not have any network or file access at the moment. And for reason for this is that we would like to implement a trusted language first. The idea is that you should be able to trust your users so they can create routines in JS which won't do anything, which can bypass SQL Server privilege system or restrictions. Essentially, they won't do. We shouldn't be able to do anything which is not allowed to SQL Server itself. So no direct network access or file access like in Node.js, for example. Maybe we will relax this limitation a bit later, maybe with some option, because it might be useful to run some non-standard things from the JavaScript routines, of course, like triggering some external process or interacting with some web service. But at least we do not support it at this point.
Okay. Actually, when we talk about having direct access, I was having goosebump. Literally, it scares me like hell. Something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly. So we decided we would like to play safe, at least initially, and then maybe after heavy consideration, allow more.
Well, why not? No. Let's say no. I will say that if there is a voting about it, I will be against it. Okay, so let's go hands-on. We have few use cases, right? I think we reviewed the list together, and I think this is our more or less the possible use cases that we are going through, except complex data transformation, that is, and we don't really have enough data to show at the moment, and complex, so complex that do some kind of demo around it. So let's start with the live demo. And
Okay.
at this point, I will start to be silent and look at your work, and you will explain.
Okay, so here we have MySQL server, Percona server for MySQL running. It's a bit special version. It's a public prototype which is available. Its source code is available on GitHub. We also have a binaries built and available in our experimental repo. Maybe we do not support all the features which I'm going to demonstrate today, but we're pretty close actually. So we begin by actually we need to install a component first, which is called JSON component, and also we need to grant the root user, which will be using special privilege, because we do not allow execution. Well, we do not allow creation or dropping of JS storage routines to anyone. In addition to standard privileges required for creation of such routines in the database, you also need this special create JS routine privilege. And then we will start with really simple example just to show you how things work.
Dimitri, sorry, I have a question here. I'm sorry to interrupt you while
Yeah,
during the demo. Can you go back? So when you install the component, if you install the component and then
yeah.
you stop the server and you go back to the MySQL Oracle binaries, are you going to have an error, an issue because you have the component installed, or is just going to be in your?
Uh, I guess you might have a problem because it won't find such a component, right? When you migrate it to Oracle.
Okay.
So before going to Oracle, you will have to uninstall it.
Okay. So it's best practice to say install before moving, uninstall, and then proceed. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So we start with really simple routine, which is basically finds the first used bit in the integer number. It uses as you can see, we have a parameter which is called n, and this parameter automatically becomes a variable in the JavaScript code. We have a special clause in our create function statement, which is language.js, which says that it's a JS routine, which is handled by our component. And then we have this dollar quotes. It's a special new mechanism added in recent MySQL releases to support exactly storage routines in our languages. The problem is that body of a storage routine in our language is likely to contain the semicolon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to use some other mechanism to separate your body of your storage routines from the next SQL statement in the command input. And they use this double dollar quoting for this. Actually, it doesn't have to be double dollar. It can be dollar, some identifier dollar, and then whatever comes after that until the second such pattern, dollar identifier dollar, is considered the body of routine. And as you can see, actually, MySQL client knows about this quoting and handles it nicely.
So without doing the explicit command, change delimiter to change the delimiter.
Yeah. That's actually pretty nice.
Okay.
So, and then we just call this routine like a normal storage function, and it all works. You also can see that we use standard JavaScript math library, and one of the function in it counts number of zeros from the left in the number, I think. So pretty simple example, something which probably not that simple to implement in storage routine language. Okay. So let us begin with this. And now let us take a look at a bit more complex thing. So let's some routine which does a really simple credit card number validation. Of course, it's it shouldn't be used in any kind of production, but it counts with checksum which we have in credit card numbers and at least checks it. So I have created routine. I use the same dollar quoting. You can see that here I actually use a function inside a JavaScript function inside of JavaScript code, inside of JavaScript stored routine, which is really useful in many cases. Why it's so useful? This is because we do not support importing modules yet. So if you really want to pull in some other code from some external source, you probably want to create some functions or classes and add them to your routine like this. So we try to run this credit card check and we get an error. Something is wrong. Well, obviously it's expected because it's intentional error. So JavaScript execution reports us an error, but we would like to get a bit more context in this case. So we will run a UDF, which will give us a bit more information about what has happened in this case. So as you can see, it repeats the information about the error that happened, and it actually even prints a line where the error has happened. So we have actually a wrong identifier. There is a typo in our code, when we also have a stack trace, and exactly in the checksum calculation functions inside of our stored routine, we have this error. It also prints line numbers, which is convenient. So that's actually this line. For now, I will drop this routine and try to create a new one with a correct body. So I'm dropping this storing function and creating it once again with a correct body, and I will also run some checks right away. So we have created with the same stored function with a correct body. We run it as a usual stored function, and it returns us that, okay, this specific credit card number seems to be okay. And if you adjust it a bit, by doing this, we will break the checksum. It will say that, okay, no, it doesn't look like a real credit card. So that's one example what can be doing. Of course, you can do your own validation, which is going to be much more complex, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You were saying we do not support import. We do not support import of external module at the moment. So you have to develop functions and libraries at the end. How I can call the library? I mean, where I should build this, because it needs to be in the same body of the create procedure, or it can be, that I create a function and then create this function to import the.
Well, ideally it should be in the same body of procedure, but technically we have each connection has its own. Well, actually, each user in the connection has its own JavaScript context. So if you can add something to this JavaScript context on its global level, then it also become available. So, but like in my opinion, from usability point of view, it's simpler just to add your necessary functions to the top of your routine, which you create. instead, and not mess with bothering that I will run this special routine which will populate the context and will create some routines, and then later I will use these routines. Sorry, not routines. These JavaScript functions in my other code.
Okay.
It's possible, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially since we have in the plans support for normal modules. So you should, in the end, you should be able to use just import or something like this in your JavaScript code instead of doing what you have to do currently. Upstream does support modules. The latest Upstream 9 something release introduces support for modules, actually. So we are going to do this as well eventually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let us go to the next example. So it's now example of some business logic implemented using a JavaScript routine. So we have some function which uses some way to calculate discounts. And what we actually have here is that we are getting as a parameter to this function a JSON object describing the order, and then we adjust this JSON object and return it to the user of the function, right? So we say that, okay, on a big orders, we do 10% discount. To special VIP customers, we provide VIP discount. Then we also add tax, and then we just adjust this initial order with updated values and then return it. And then just call this function. And as you can see, we added information about discount to the object which passed and returned in the end. Actually, what is really handy is that since JSON is basically JavaScript object notation, it really integrates well with routines in the JavaScript. So if you store a lot of JSON data in your database and would like to process it, then routines in JS can be really handy. As you can see, it's you just get your JSON object as a parameter to your routine. Internally, inside of routine, it's just ordinary JavaScript object. And then when you return this object as a JSON return value, it automatically converted to the JSON. So that's one more example, another example of business logic. So perhaps we can switch to some other. This is actually another example when we try to process JSON, and it sort of illustrates the same point that using JSON and working with JSON in JavaScript storage routines is really easy. Oops, sorry. So we have here we have a routine which basically iterates all over the object which are passed to it and normalize name of the keys in it, makes them lowercase. So we call this storage function. We pass to it JSON objects with names which use different cases, and then as a result we get this exactly the same object but with all names of the fields lowercase. This is how it works. So as you can see, it's just ordinary JavaScript, and all magic happens when we convert data from the SQL and
the normalized key, and you have the key to lowercase.
Yeah. So this is how it works. Again, it's really convenient to work in JSON. with JSON in JS storage routines. Okay, now let us try to do something else, something a bit different. Also, JavaScript is good at processing of strings. It has a lot of facilities for this. Here I try to create a routine which prepares some abstract document for the publication, for example. Again, I get this document as a JSON as an input, and then I also get a JSON object with array of sensitive words, which I should mask in my document. I also have some helper function which use standard JavaScript matching functionality, regex, whatnot, some iterations, and then I just process with text which I get in JSON object. I extract hashtags from it. I generate slug for its title. I also convert the text itself by masking sensitive words. And here's what, for example, happens, how it works. When I just call a function with, again, JSON as parameter, oops. And as you can see, we have some text with prohibited word in it. And as a result, I get the same text with prohibited word masked. Do not share your with anyone. I also get hashtags extracted, and I also get slug from the text title.
Okay.
So it's how it is how it works. Again, here we are not using anything special. It's pretty much standard JavaScript libraries, which is
I was
available.
checking standard regex that we have, and replace it with them. Yeah.
And the thing is that you actually can use the libraries which are out there on in external repositories. You just need to adjust the code and import the code. We actually will do this in the next example. So the next example maybe is a bit more interesting. It shows how you can work with statistical information, for example. What it tries is to use k-means method to categorize some dots on the plane. So there is a code which I basically copied from the public npm repository and adjusted a bit simply to make it easier to demo. But in principle, you just can copy paste the code from this repository and do not do any adjustments. It just will be a bit harder to show it. So there is, as you can see, plenty of code which doesn't fit the one screen. So instead of copy pasting this, I will just use this nice command in MySQL client, which allows me to run the command from SQL. And we can actually, in Cummins SQL, I have this create routine, create procedure statement, and I can check that indeed the routine was created. Okay, let me check. Let me check what we have inside of this routine. Okay, so I run show create routine and show create procedure in this case. And as you can see, you can inspect this body and see what happened there.
What is the limit of characters that we can have in the?
It's a good question. I think it's it's defined by two things. It's defined by V8 string limit and also by MySQL routines data dictionary tables limit. So it actually can be pretty big for all practical purposes. I do not think you
You
I do
will
not
hit
think.
it.
Yes. I do not think you will hit this limit with by writing a code. You might, of course, write code which will create such strings, and it will be handled by reporting an error and so on, but not for storage routines. So let us run this routine with some parameters, and then try to see what happens there. Again, this is pretty much standard code from the slightly adjusted from the public repository. As you can see, I'm trying to find two clusters by applying commins method using 1000 iterations. Here I have a few dots from which I try to find the clusters, and as a result, as you can see, I really found these clusters, right? Here are the first cluster, here's the second cluster, here are centers of these clusters. The interesting thing, what will happen if we will run this thing once again, and then once again, and then once again with slightly different results, and then once again. So essentially, you might see that the time which is taken to execute this storage routine is always different, and it actually improves. The more you run it, the better it gets. This is because V8 does optimization, sometimes in background, and V8 is really advanced engines which does all these just-in-time things and so on. It has several optimizers which it uses for different types of really hot code, of not so hot code, and so on. So things can get better as long as you run the code more times.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, and it's not, for the specific query, as you can see, I have adjusted the parameter, so I'm getting some other result as a result, but it still gets better. Okay, so some other example. This is actually more or less the final example for today. I'm going to show something which is not yet available in the public prototype code we have. It's running SQL from the JS procedure. So I will use a different actually window for this, where I need to install component once again. Sorry, it's a bit. So it's a bit older version, but it's internal prototype we have, which is able to run SQL from JS. Okay, so here we have the table which represents a tree. It has children, it has parents. There are link to parent in each children. And then we just insert some data in it. And then we try to find the path from which child to parent and see how it looks. And then we basically run some query to retrieve parent for each child we have in iterative fashion. And then write result in the out parameter as
Okay, There
as
is
a
a
list.
Dimitri, there is a question saying, what about debugging of the GS code? Is it
Uh,
possible to enable inspector and debug with Chrome tool?
Not at the moment. So we do support console log. So you can write to console log and then get access to it using again UDFs or just functions. We do not support advanced functionality, interactive functionality like inspector. No. Maybe at some point we support it, but it's not in the near term plans for sure. So here you can see what, okay, we will just go follow this path and indeed it works. We use pretty familiar API for working with SQL from stored procedure in JS. The good question which might arise is that what will happen if we have an infinite loop, right? So let us
How to stop it, mainly how to
yeah.
prevent. Yeah.
So let us give it a try. Let us say that the topmost parent is actually itself a child, is a child of one of its children or descendants, and then try to find this fetch the same path. Oops. So we entered infinite loop, but hooray, I just press Ctrl C and the execution is aborted. So what happens here under the hood is that MySQL client, in this case, sends a kill query statement to the server. And JavaScript story routine language understands that and aborts its execution inside. There is no process, no code running at this point inside of it. And this is how you can abort its execution. So kill query and kill connection works as expected with JS code. Also, you can use max execution time hint or max execution time session variable to limit the time which your JS code execution will take. It should handle it all gracefully.
But at the end of the execution, there is no way to limit the CPU utilization.
Well, you are limiting the time.
Yeah, but for the time of the execution, there is no way for us to say do not go 100% of CPU utilization.
Yeah, no, you cannot do this. You can, limit it for the whole server by some external tool, but
yeah,
it's not from the SQL and not from MySQL client.
okay.
I think that's all with the demo part. So we might want to talk a bit.
So yeah, let's go back to the slides if it's possible. And I don't know, we have the director in the background. If we can move back to the slides. Hello. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what is available and what is planned? So can we do a summary here?
Yeah. So currently you can create stored procedures and functions in JS. We handle all those types conversions for parameters and return values. We support advanced error reporting, as you have seen. You can kill the storage routine while it's running or limit execution using timeout. Console is supported. We haven't shown it, but it really works. In near future, this is what is available. This is what is available in our public prototype now. Maybe console support is not available in the binaries which you have built, but it's in the source code at least, so you can build it yourself if you want. Currently, we are working on porting memory limits implementation from internal prototype, and also what we will do next is we will port SQL execution support. And then we will start thinking about how we can support modules in JS. It's not a trivial decision because in upstream we added this support to 9.0 something branch, essentially not to the GA release. And our implementation, by the way, is based on 8.4, where the most of functionality available for this. Well, slightly adjusted 8.4 because we had to work around some bugs in the implementation, backport some were fixing from 9 versions and so on. So that's pretty much it about
Well,
plans.
okay, great. So at this point, I think there is a call to the community and to anyone that wants to help. We need feedback. Dimitri here have done this all alone, and but now it's time for all of us to test and give a try. Try to squeeze out if it help us in our daily job and report bugs, request improvement, and do work with it, and then come back to us, to Dimitri in particular. There is the URL that will be also shared in the slide when the slide will be shared, if that will happen. I think so. And you know, reach out to us if there is anything else. Now, I saw that a message saying that our director was trying to uh, do something unusual, which is trying to invite people to live camera. I don't know if this is possible, but yeah. Okay, let's wait 1 minute to see if anybody will come live and express his opinion and see. By the way, Dimitri, very, very cool work. I mean, the more I look at it, and the more I think this will give us a lot of flexibility to improve things, right? To make it specifically around some specific things, like as you mentioned, you know, documents and
Yeah.
you know, all the DOM part that is already, without trying to duplicate the work of other more specialized engine, but given the fact that we have the support here, that will be probably the part that was missing, that will help us to take more value. So I don't
But
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
what I would like to ask people is really, really report any issues and also report their ideas about how all this stuff can be improved, because I'm not a JS developer. So I do not probably realize what is important for JS people and what is not. And also, everyone has its own experience. I was mostly working on MySQL Server code for the last 20 years. So obviously, people in the industry might have different opinion, have different ideas about what should be there, what is useful. So please let us know so we can edit and make it really useful.
Okay. Okay. Actually, I was looking at the MySQL prepare command inside the store procedure. That was like, wow. So if we can do that, it will, it's.
But you can do with technically in SQL routine as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
With all the flexibility of transforming around JavaScript, with JavaScript, all the thing, it's really, it's going to be really powerful things as for someone that maybe is not used to SQL, right? That doesn't know how to build very complex SQL queries, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's the point. I mean, theoretically, you can do all the same from the storage routines written in SQL, but not that much people know this language, and it's much more convenient to write it in the
Yeah.
more modern language, which is familiar to people and which has a nice library, and for which there are a lot of public code and open source code out there.
Okay, so given the fact we have no one in the studio joining, I would say that we can uh, close this experience. I really thank you all the people participating. Dimitri, thank you a
Thank
lot,
you. Thank you,
and
Marco.
thank you, and see you on the battlefield again. Okay, people, thank
Bye.
you very much. Bye, and I hope you enjoyed this open chat. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.